Chapter 1, The Encounter. The alien girl stood in the sterile, futuristic lounge of a hidden spacecraft, her blue-tinted skin shimmering under the soft, diffused lights that filled the room. Her sharp, luminous eyes scanned the human before her, unimpressed by the false bravado he attempted to maintain. The air was still, but the tension was palpable as her entourage, equally enigmatic and dangerously beautiful, watched from the background, their eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. Human, she spoke in a voice that was at once melodic and chilling, her gaze piercing through him as though she could see past his skin and bones. "Show what you're hiding under your clothes, dirty animal." Her words were not a request but a command, underlined by a layer of contempt that only heightened the divide between them. The man stood frozen, his mind racing. He had been captured by these alien women, these ethereal beings with their perfect forms and flawless beauty, only hours ago. The technology they possessed was beyond anything he had ever seen, even beyond anything his government had dared to dream of. He was a spy, an expert at uncovering secrets, but now he stood on the other side of the game, a mouse in a trap. What do you mean?" he stammered, trying to buy himself a few seconds to think. The alien girl narrowed her eyes, her lips curving into a mocking smile. She moved closer, the silver-white strands of her hair falling elegantly around her flawless face. "You know what I mean, human. There's no use pretending. We've seen what you hide beneath those rags you call clothing. We've studied your kind for longer than you can comprehend." He swallowed hard. Was it some kind of advanced scanning technology? Did they know about the hidden transmitter embedded in his skin? Or was it something deeper, something more primal they sought to uncover? The others in the room moved closer as well, their movements synchronized and graceful, like predators circling prey. They had him surrounded, and escape seemed impossible. His heart pounded in his chest, not only from fear but from the overwhelming presence of these beings. Their beauty was unnatural, almost painful to behold, like looking directly into the sun. "Do as she says, human," one of the others hissed softly, her voice carrying the same disdain as the leader. "Show us your secrets." Chapter 2, Secrets Unveiled. The man hesitated, his hands shaking as they reached for the zipper of his jacket. He glanced nervously around the room, looking for any opportunity to make a break for it, but there was none. Even if he could escape the room, where would he go? He was on their ship, possibly light years away from Earth. His only chance was to comply, to figure out what they wanted. He unzipped the jacket slowly, revealing a simple black shirt underneath. His body was tense, and his mind was racing. Beneath the fabric of his clothing, just under his skin, lay the transmitter, a device so small that even the most advanced Earth technology couldn't detect it. But these aliens, they were different. They had scanned him, examined him, and yet, they hadn't made a move to remove the device. What were they really after? As he peeled off the shirt, he could feel their eyes on him, not in a way that felt voyeuristic, but as if they were analyzing every muscle, every pore, every heartbeat. Their expressions were unreadable, their perfect faces giving nothing away. The alien leader, the one who had spoken first, stepped even closer. Her icy blue eyes locked onto his bare skin as if searching for something unseen. "You think we're interested in your primitive weapons, your crude technology," she scoffed, her voice dripping with superiority. "We're not here for your tools, human. We're here for something much more valuable. Something your kind has yet to understand." His heart skipped a beat. What could they possibly want? What could he have that was more valuable than the intelligence he carried? "You still don't see it, do you?" she continued, tilting her head slightly, as if amused by his confusion. "We're not interested in what you hide under your clothes. We're interested in what you hide under your skin, under your mind." Chapter 3, The Mind Trap. The words hit him like a freight train. His mind? They wanted something from his mind. The fear intensified, but so did the questions. How could they access his thoughts, his memories? Was this some form of telepathy? The leader reached out, her hand hovering just above his chest. He could feel a strange energy emanating from her, a force that made the hair on his arms stand up. She didn't touch him, but it felt as if she was pulling something from him, something deep within. "You carry it within you," she whispered, her voice barely audible, but her words thundered in his ears. "The key to the future. The key to our survival. Your kind doesn't even know it yet, but we do. And we will take it." His thoughts raced as he struggled to understand what she was talking about. What could he possibly carry that these advanced beings needed? His head throbbed with the strain of trying to piece it all together, and then, as if a switch had been flipped, he remembered the dream. The dream he had had every night since he was a child. It was always the same, a vast, endless expanse of stars and a voice calling to him from the void. A voice that promised answers, power, but also danger. He had always dismissed it as a recurring nightmare, a product of his overactive imagination. But now, standing before these alien beings, it felt like something more. "Ah," the leader said softly, a smile tugging at the corner of her lips. "You're beginning to understand." He shook his head, trying to push the thoughts away, but it was too late. The connection had been made, and the aliens were pulling the memories from him, unraveling the mystery that had haunted him his entire life. Chapter 4, A Dangerous Bargain. The leader stepped back, her expression unreadable, but there was a glint of satisfaction in her eyes. "You've been chosen, human," she said, her voice carrying a weight that sent chills down his spine. "Whether you like it or not, you are the key. You will help us survive, or you will die." His throat was dry, and his voice cracked when he spoke. What do you want from me?" The alien girl didn't answer immediately. Instead, she looked at him with a mixture of pity and amusement. "You think you have a choice in this?" she asked softly. "You're already part of the plan." Before he could respond, the others moved in closer, their glowing eyes locking onto him like vultures circling their prey. There was no escape, no bargaining. They had made up their minds, and his fate was sealed. The leader leaned in, her breath cool against his skin. "We will extract what we need, but there's a way for you to survive. A way for you to become more than you are." His heart pounded in his chest. "What are you talking about?" "You help us," she said simply. "Become one of us. And in return, we will give you what your kind has always sought, immortality." Chapter 5, The Transformation. The man's mind reeled. Immortality? Become one of them? The offer was both terrifying and tempting. Could he trust them? Could he survive whatever it was they had planned for him? The thought of living forever, of transcending his human limitations, was a dream many had, but at what cost? The leader's eyes softened slightly, as if sensing his hesitation. "This is your only chance, human. The process will change you, yes, but you will retain your memories, your essence. You will become something greater." He thought of Earth, of the people he had left behind. Could he abandon them for the promise of eternal life? Could he betray his own species? But then again, did it matter? He was already a prisoner on this ship, surrounded by beings who could crush him without a second thought. The others in the room watched silently, their expressions unreadable. They were waiting for his decision, and time was running out. Finally, he spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. "What do I have to do?" Chapter 6, The Ritual. The leader smiled, a look of triumph flashing in her eyes. "You've made the right choice." She stepped back, and the others moved forward, forming a circle around him. The lights in the room dimmed, and a low hum filled the air. The man's heart raced as he realized he was about to undergo something far beyond his understanding. The leader raised her arms, and the energy in the room shifted. He could feel it pressing down on him, invading his mind, his body. His skin tingled, and he gasped as the sensation intensified, spreading through his veins like wildfire. His vision blurred, and the room around him began to dissolve. He was no longer standing in the alien ship but floating in a vast, star-filled void. The voice from his dreams echoed around him, calling him, beckoning him forward. "You are the key," it whispered. "You are the beginning and the end." His body trembled as the energy consumed him, reshaping him, transforming him into something new. His mind expanded, and for the first time in his life, he saw the universe for what it truly was, an endless web of possibilities, a never-ending cycle of life and death. Chapter 7, The New Beginning. When he awoke, he was no longer the man he had been. His skin shimmered with the same blue hue as the aliens around him, and his eyes glowed with the same ethereal light. He was one of them now, but he was also something more. The leader stood before him, her expression unreadable. "Welcome to your new life," she said softly. He looked down at his hands, flexing his fingers. He could feel the power coursing through him, the knowledge of the universe at his fingertips. But there was also a heaviness, a burden that came with his new existence. "What now?" he asked, his voice steady but laced with uncertainty. The leader smiled, but it was a cold, distant smile. "Now, you serve us. Together, we will reshape the universe." And with those words, he knew there was no turning back. He had made his choice, and the cost of immortality was higher than he could have ever imagined. The alien girl watched him closely, her piercing eyes never leaving his as she whispered, "Welcome to eternity, human." Chapter 8, The Weight of Eternity. The realization of what he had become settled heavily on his shoulders as he gazed into the infinite darkness of space through the ship's transparent wall. His reflection stared back at him, a being of immense power, glowing with the same eerie blue light as the alien leader and her kin. Yet, beneath the surface, he was still human, still tethered to the thoughts, feelings, and fears that once defined him. The alien leader, who had orchestrated his transformation, stood beside him, her posture calm and commanding. She regarded him not as a newly created equal but as a tool, a weapon to be wielded in their quest for dominance. "You must accept your new role, human," she said softly, her eyes never wavering from the stars. "The power you now possess can either be your salvation or your destruction." He swallowed hard, feeling the unfamiliar energy coursing through his veins. "I don't know what you expect me to do," he admitted, his voice betraying his uncertainty. The leader turned toward him, her expression unreadable. "You are the key, as I've said before. Your very existence is now intertwined with the fate of the universe. We have battled for eons, fought against forces you cannot begin to comprehend. And now, with you by our side, we will tip the balance." He shook his head, trying to comprehend the magnitude of her words. "But why me? Why was I chosen? I was just a man. A spy." She placed a hand on his shoulder, and though her touch was light, it felt as though it carried the weight of the cosmos. "Because you carry within you a unique energy, a potential that even your own kind cannot see. Your dreams, your visions, they were not mere coincidences. They were the universe calling to you, preparing you for this moment." He took a step back, overwhelmed by the truth she revealed. The dreams he had experienced throughout his life, the voice calling to him from the void, it had all been leading to this. But what did it mean for his humanity? Was there any part of him left that wasn't already claimed by this alien force? "I don't want to lose who I am," he whispered, more to himself than to her. The leader's eyes softened slightly, but there was no pity in her voice when she replied, "You've already lost who you were. But in return, you've gained something far greater, immortality, power, and a purpose that stretches beyond the boundaries of any human life. The question is whether you will embrace it or fight against it." He stared at her, feeling the weight of her words, the weight of his new existence. In a way, she was right. He couldn't go back to the man he once was, but that didn't mean he had to abandon everything. There had to be a way to retain his humanity while wielding this newfound power. "I'll help you," he said slowly, the decision forming in his mind. "But on my terms." The leader's lips curved into a knowing smile. "We shall see." Chapter 9, The first mission days passed aboard the alien ship, and with each passing hour, he grew more accustomed to his new body, his new abilities. The transformation had granted him enhanced strength, speed, and intellect. His mind now operated on a level far beyond that of any human, and he could access information and knowledge stored in the ship's vast database with ease. Yet, even as he honed his abilities, the lingering question of what it meant to be human gnawed at him. He hadn't spoken much with the other aliens on the ship, most of whom viewed him with a mixture of curiosity and indifference. They saw him as a tool, just as their leader did, a means to an end, but one alien, a woman named Zyra, seemed different. She often watched him from a distance, her expression unreadable. Her blue skin shimmered in the same light as the others, but there was something more in her eyes, a depth of understanding that intrigued him. One day, as he trained in the ship's expansive gymnasium, pushing his new body to its limits, she approached him. "You struggle," Zyra said, her voice calm but with an edge of empathy. He wiped the sweat from his brow, though he suspected his new physiology made sweat unnecessary. "I don't know how to balance this. I'm not like you. I wasn't born into this life. I had a family, friends, a home." Zyra tilted her head, her luminous eyes narrowing slightly. "You are not like us. But that is why you are valuable." He frowned. "Valuable? To your mission, maybe. But what about to myself? What am I if not the man I used to be?" She took a step closer, her eyes locking onto his. "You are more than the man you were. But you are still him. The transformation didn't erase your past, it enhanced it. You carry your memories, your emotions, with you. They are your strength, not your weakness." Her words struck a chord within him, and for the first time since his transformation, he felt a glimmer of hope. Perhaps there was a way to reconcile his old self with his new identity. Perhaps there was still a part of him worth saving. Before he could respond, the ship's intercom crackled to life, and the voice of the leader echoed through the chamber. "All personnel to the command deck. We have located the target." He felt a surge of adrenaline as Zyra's expression hardened. "It's time." Chapter 10, The Infiltration. The command deck was alive with activity as he and Zyra entered. The leader stood at the center of the room, her eyes fixed on the holographic display before her. The image of a distant planet, shrouded in clouds and mystery, floated in the air, a world that had been the center of conflict for millennia. "We have found them," the leader announced, her voice commanding the attention of everyone present. "The renegade faction responsible for the destabilization of our galaxy. And with our new ally," she glanced at him, "we will crush them once and for all." His heart pounded as he stared at the holographic planet. This was it, the moment he had been preparing for. But as the mission details unfolded, doubts crept into his mind. What exactly was he fighting for? And why did this mission feel more personal to the leader than any of the others had let on? As the team prepared for the mission, Zyra pulled him aside. "Be careful," she warned, her voice low. "The leader has her own agenda. Don't trust everything she tells you." He frowned, feeling a knot of tension form in his chest. "What do you mean?" Zyra hesitated, her eyes darting toward the leader. "There's more to this mission than she's revealed. I've seen the way she looks at you, the way she speaks about the key. You're important, but not in the way she wants you to believe. She's using you for something far greater than just this battle." His mind raced, trying to process her words. Could it be true? Could the leader's motivations go beyond the mission she had outlined? And if so, what was he really fighting for? Before he could ask more, the ship's alarms blared, signaling that they were approaching their destination. There was no more time for questions, only action. Chapter 11, Betrayal. The descent to the planet was swift and silent. He and Zyra, along with the rest of the strike team, moved through the dense atmosphere, cloaked by the ship's advanced stealth technology. The renegades were unaware of their approach, and the element of surprise was on their side. As they landed on the surface, the air was thick with tension. The mission was clear: eliminate the renegade leaders and secure the planet. But as they moved deeper into enemy territory, he couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. It wasn't until they reached the heart of the enemy base that the truth was revealed. The leader, who had been at the front of the strike team, suddenly turned to face him, her eyes blazing with intensity. "Now, human," she said, her voice echoing through his mind. "It is time for you to fulfill your purpose. Before he could react, she reached out and touched his forehead, and in that moment, the truth flooded his consciousness that he wasn't just a key to the mission, he was the key to unlocking a power that had been sealed away for eons. A power that the leader had been seeking for herself, hidden within him since birth. She had orchestrated everything, his capture, his transformation, all to bring him to this moment. Betrayal burned in his chest as he realized the extent of her manipulation. But even as the anger surged within him, he felt the power she had unlocked coursing through his veins, more potent than anything he had ever imagined.